Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to take a radical shift and talk about the F word. And it's not what you're thinking about. So get your mind out of the gutter. It's actually the word familiar. Enjoy.
At first, when I saw the title of this episode, I was like, what are we doing?
I know it's like the F word. And what are we talking about? It sounds bad, doesn't it? But it's not the F word that we're accustomed to hearing, but it is kind of negative. And it's the word familiar. And it is one of the words in the English dictionary that I am most adverse to. I just can't stand staying in the familiar. In my opinion, there's not a scarier word in the dictionary than the word familiar. It's where dreams go to die. So I don't want you to use it.
What's wrong with it?
Ugh.
I could, I guess what's wrong with it, but familiar also feels comfortable and easy, and it's like safe and familiar.
Mhm. But there's no room for your growth.
Mm.
So you can't expand as a human being. So you can't keep staying in the same familiar environment, in the same familiar circles, in the same familiar negative cycles. So you have to get out of them and get cozy with being uncomfortable. And that is so hard for so many people to do. It is scary because our innate human behaviors lead us to what is familiar. But again, we stay stagnant. There's no room for expansion in this life if you're going to stay where you're at. So, a year ago, I decided to get out of my neighborhood and expand my social circle. I wanted to do this for myself and my business. So, I would drop the kids off at school and then I would drive into the city. And as you know, LA County's a huge county. So, I would drive like an hour and a half to go and seek out workshops, educational opportunities, meetings with new people, mastermind groups, all because I wanted to really expand myself as a woman in her 40s, exploring different career opportunities. And just on a personal level, I wanted to connect with people who were also on a spiritual path. So I made it a point to get out of my neighborhood. And it has expanded me in so many ways. I mean, and this may be so 2025 of me to say, but you actually, and this is where I'm going to contradict myself, you actually don't need to leave the comfort of your home office or living room or bedroom. You can actually connect with people, new people online on Zoom. And I'm a part of a couple mastermind groups that we meet online, but it's still fulfilling a need that I have in my life to really connect with new people and expand my thinking and really adopt a new way of being. So that has been beneficial for me. So, in a way, you can still have some of your comforts, but you can at the same time lean into expansion. So, your comfort zone, you can define it as something physical, like your external environment. So, you hear stories about people that live in the same house for like 30 plus years, or there are people that stay in relationships that are way longer than they should. And, just in terms of like neighborhood, I've lived in the same city my entire life. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But I feel that you still have to look for ways to expand internally, even if your external environment is not changing around you immediately. So I don't believe in staying in one place too long in terms of physical space. I have this itch to like move every so often or travel to someplace new. I don't want to go to the same place all the time. Or, I just want to keep growing and really trying new things. So that's where I'm at. And I realize that not everybody feels similar feelings. There are a lot of people that cling to comfort. They want to look at the same place all the time, travel to the same places, and that is what feels right for them. But I also feel like there's so much novelty and so much expansion when you just get out of that comfort zone and you really challenge yourself to at least try something new. And it doesn't have to be grand, it can be something small. So, again, it's just about trying new things and getting out of something familiar. And in terms of just environment and then personal, like, do you want to keep staying in the same negative cycles in terms of your thinking, in terms of certain relationships that you have with people. You're stuck in these familiar cycles and you never get out of them and they don't do anything for you.
Well, and especially for anyone out there who's in the dating scene, my friends, I've really encouraged them and they're having to encourage themselves and each other to like, okay, well, my future husband's not just going to walk into my house
Mhm.
while I'm in my pajamas, scoop me up off the couch and like we ride off into the sunset. Like he's out there somewhere. And the only way I'm ever going to find him is if I get out of my house, I put some clothes on. It's not even about being super made up. It's just
No.
about like you're saying like get out of the familiar. Start going to different coffee shops instead of going to the same
Mhm.
coffee shop every day at the same time, like try a different one every day. Take a book, take your computer, take something and just hang out there for 20 or 30 minutes and make eye contact with people. Like, people that are alone and single, it's like, okay, well, let's just double check. Are you getting out of your comfort zone?
Mhm.
And, or if you don't have friends, like, are you going out to, lounges or what? I don't know where people go these days to
Yeah.
make friends. The pickleball courts. Oh my gosh. My husband, we roll up to the pickleball court and you would think he was like president of this like club, he just everyone knows him and everyone
Yeah.
knows who I am just out of, him making friends and being consistent and I'm not great at that. It's not
Yeah.
my forte. I have to really work to get out of my comfort zone.
Mhm.
I feel so comfortable in the corner of a room. I like observing, I like watching, I like judging what I think people are up to and what's going on in their life, and I just am in my own little world over there.
Mhm.
But sometimes I do get lonely, and sometimes
Yeah.
I wonder, how come I don't have more fulfilled connections? And
Mhm.
it's because I don't wanna get out of my comfort zone.
And that is so normal and so valid for so many of us. And it's interesting because I study neuroscience and they even say start practicing your writing with your non dominant hand
Wow.
just to get used to doing something different. So you think about it, I'm right-handed, and then when I go to my left, it is so uncomfortable.
Wow.
And it's such a really powerful exercise. That's just a quick tip that you can do, right, with your non-dominant hand. You can also take a different route to work. You can also decide today, I'm not going to go to the same coffee shop I've been going to. I'm going to try a new one. And perfect example, like your friends, like I may have to go and insert myself in different circles, different parts of the city to expose myself
Right.
to new people. So, all of this, and these are all small steps that we can do. These don't need to be these grand declarations and going,
Right.
okay, today I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to move to
Right.
a different city. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
telling you to do. But we can all take small steps every day to practice getting out of safety zones. And again, it might be even just initiating a conversation with a stranger or, trying something new that you haven't for lunch or, exploring a new topic of interest. All these things get you out of comfort zones.
Have you had a moment where you knew, "Okay, this is gonna be a stretch, but I'm gonna do it," and it paid off?
I think when I was 19, I was really determined to get out of my house. I had been rejected from my top college, and I took that rejection letter and I said, I'm not staying here. So I did whatever I could in that year to get out of my comfort zone and really embark on a new life. And I never moved back after that. So, and I got the acceptance letter to the
Wow.
college that I really wanted to go to. It just took me a lot longer and not that long, but I think timing too. But I think when you have it in your mind that you're on a path of growth and that's really what's important to you, things just kind of start to reveal themselves. So I think that's what people need to understand is that I love this quote by Robin Sharma. He says, the universe favors the brave. When you make the decision to live your life like on a different level of expansion, magnificent things start to happen. And I really do believe that when you're on a track of being brave and saying yes to discomfort, I believe doors open up for you that were otherwise closed.
I agree 1,000%. I just heard Robert Madu say that interchange the word faith with risk.
Mm, yeah.
You know, there's all these moments in history where it was like they had faith. They were willing to take the risk.
Right.
Because it's like you can want something all day long.
Absolutely. But there comes a point where you have to stop ruminating or thinking about it, and you actually just have to move into action. And it's interesting because I study a lot of entrepreneurs, and if you read a lot of their memoirs, they all have one thing in common. They were able to move into action pretty quickly. They didn't think that much about the next step. They just decided, I'm just going to do. I'm not even going to think about it. And that led to them being successful and failing at the same time. Because again, when you move that rapidly, sometimes you do encounter failure, but then at the same time, you reevaluate and go, okay, that happened. Now I know how to fix it.
Right.
Now I know how to move forward. And that is really a lot of entrepreneurs' formula is they are willing to take those risks.
I've heard Mimi Bouchard talk about the bounce back rate.
Mm,
Like, it's not about how many times you fail or succeed, it's how many times you're able to get back up. The ones that can
definitely.
get back up and keep going and stay out of their comfort zone, those are gonna be the ones that you hear about in history.
And this brings me to the other F words that I can't stand, which is failure and fear. Because again, I think that you have to be able to be okay with failing and you have to be okay with facing some of your fears. And that's really the only way you're going to get to your higher self. That's really the only way you're going to really see what you're made of.
Well, and I think a lot of people are scared to take the jump because of rejection, specifically.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because when I was expanding my circle and inserting myself with people or women who were much more successful, there was a level of intimidation there because I wanted to be where they were at. And I didn't feel worthy enough to be in that circle, but I had to get over it and be okay with the fact that, okay, I may not be at her level, but I deserve a seat at the table.
Totally.
I can be here. I may just be listening, observing, but I'm taking all this info and it's going to help me like on my journey and my expansion. So, and I will be there with her one day. But there is that level of fear and am I worthy enough to be here in this place? And that really paralyzes people and they don't move into action. So they're just going to retreat and stay where they're at because it feels safe and I can somewhat manage her. And maybe I could find some level of happiness and contentment, but you're never going to really be happy because you're always going to be wondering the big what ifs. Like, what if I had just taken that chance? What if I had just taken that trip? What if I had just said yes to that city to live in? So you don't want to live with that regret. And you want to be able to check off some more boxes and say, yeah, I tried it. It worked. It didn't work, but at least I tried it.
If someone's listening and they're recognizing that just as I am, that there's some areas in my life where I have stayed in a specific spot because it feels familiar, what are some steps to really break through that and step out?
I think you have to take a survey of where you feel stuck because familiarity is not necessarily a bad thing all the time. If you feel like you're still living a life that is aligned with what your soul desires, that's fine. It's when you feel unsettled, like you know this does not feel right. Feelings start to rise up, but then you keep pushing them down. You keep ignoring the fact that you know you don't like this. And it's like your soul nudging you and trying to tell you, I don't like this either. Can we work on something to move us towards what's going to make us happy? So I think it's really tuning into yourself. And this is why I firmly stand behind my principles because the RISE principles, I think, help you stay connected to yourself and your inner power. And so you're able to recognize when something does not feel right. So you need to check in with yourself constantly and going, does this feel right? Feels pretty good. Then that's okay. Stick with that. If it keeps coming up and you just know, like you keep going and trying and like you're stuck and you're just like, I can't, this is just unsettling. You have to basically start to really reflect on that, which is my first principle, and write about it, think about it, pray, meditate, whatever you have to do, and really figure out like what is it that your soul's needing right now.
Well, because there's
Yeah,
layers to discomfort.
absolutely.
Some discomfort is really good for you.
Totally.
I've learned this in therapy. There's
We all have.
there's
Yeah.
discomfort that's like, okay, I can feel my body tensing a little bit, but I know afterwards I'm gonna feel so much better, so I'm gonna get through it. We're at the gym. It's like there's
Yes.
discomfort
That's a
in
perfect example.
lifting new weights or whatever, and I know I'm gonna be sore later, but it's gonna be worth it. But then there is discomfort too that's like my body is saying, "Stop.
Yes.
This is too much. I'm paralyzed."
Yes.
I think what you're saying about reflecting is so important to find out, what do I need right now in this moment? Don't try to fix everything all at once. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 by tomorrow.
No.
Reflect and look at, what are the little areas in my life where I can be okay feeling a little bit uncomfortable here. I can be okay. I really personally have to pep talk myself up when
Mhm.
it comes to conversations that are harder.
Mhm.
Courtney, you will be okay. You are going to have this conversation and it will be over and everything will be fine. And it feels so uncomfortable, but I know that I'm growing. I know the person I'm talking to
Mhm.
is growing. I'm probably going to learn something in the process. And I feel like when you're able to reflect, even before the thing happens, and just say, like, I can take a step back, I can see the discomfort that's coming, and I'm going to be okay.
Absolutely. And that's where the growth happens in those moments, having the difficult conversations, having the difficult task of looking at your life and going, what's not working?
Hmm.
Right. And then I guess we can go through the principles. I mean, then if you go to intention, if your intention this year is to, let's say, grow your business or, you know, lose a certain amount of weight, whatever it is, then you have to move towards that goal.
Right.
So what are you going to do? You're going to have to make yourself uncomfortable. And like you said, you're going to have to go to the gym, right? Or you're going to have to prioritize your health and maybe change things in your life, right? And again, you're going to become uncomfortable. And then as for simplicity, I mean, if you think about it, you have to clear out the outside noise.
Hmm.
So stop, putting more emphasis on what everyone else thinks is best for you because they want to see you where you're at. Because the lens they're looking at you through, they're like, she's good here. Why would she need to make a
Right.
change? I'm comfortable viewing you this way. So if you start to make a character change in their movie, they don't know what to do with that. So that's the truth, is that people kind of like to see you where you're at because they're in the same place. So no one wants to see you change or expand or grow because they're happy here too. So that's something when you get into simplicity and start really clearing out the outside noise, you can tune into yourself. And then enjoy. It's like you should enjoy new things. You should enjoy the journey of expansion because it's not about the end goal.
Right.
It's about the steps you take to get there. And they don't need to be these grand, gestures, these grand actionable items. They are small things that you can do every day to cultivate change in your life. Thank you for joining. I really want you to consider dropping the F word from your life. So get out of your comfort zone, get out of familiarity, and expand and grow. And I hope you find that my principles are a good toolkit to get you out of familiarity and into a new zone. We will see you next time on The Rising.